Highway 20, I gave you a copy of the revised reconstruction agreement last week. I don't know, was there any, basically about the only thing that had been changed from the one I'd given you earlier this summer. We did add that clause in there about reviewing the intersections for the 2% approach grade, and then just there's some minor corrections that need to be done as far as one of the footages on Union Avenue was wrong. They have not provided me with the final version yet, but other than a few other minor corrections, and you got one section here, they got 2 A's and should have an A, B.
And really the significant one was the grade one, and they really kicked that around. I really hope they come back to a level that we can agree with.
We did have that as part of that same section, that because of that revision, some of the distances in all those roads listed above will change. And I got an email this morning from the DOT that they have some new footages on at least some of these. I don't know if they have them all. So they might incorporate those new footages in the agreement. But we're still going to leave that clause there because there still could be some that when they get to looking closer at the cross sections, they might need to pull make some changes to make it work. So, but I guess I was real happy with their response to changing those grades. Anyway, I have not got the final one of that. I should have that hopefully next week. I did talk to Tony again this morning. He is not available to come to a board meeting until the 23rd of November. He didn't know, he said that we could contact Mike Kruger, the construction engineer out of Cherokee, that he might be available to come down. But depending, I guess, on whether you had questions on the construction agreement or more questions on the TJ agreement.
The importance, was really surrounded the grade issues. Most of the other things, like the TJ arrangement on N14, if we really can't have a whole lot of objection to that if they take it as it is. I mean, we really don't have any.
Yeah, I don't know how you improve it any.
Well, no.
When they're taking it in the condition it is, and their big concern yet is that. And I asked them this morning. I said, "Is this TJ agreement holding up progress anywhere?" Because once they get the TJ agreement signed and get the plans developed, then they'll have a hearing. I wanted to make sure this hearing wasn't being held up by this TJ agreement.
They have to have a hearing for this ground they're going to acquire.
Well, for the whole project, the whole N14 project.
2 miles. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he said, they won't landowners a chance to object.
Yeah.
They've already started moving those utility poles away from that.
They're in front of Oscar's.
And then north.
They bought, when they bought from
Keith
Spicer, they're into the negotiations and realized that they were also going to have to buy for him again to slide the road over. And so they made a decision at that time to go ahead and buy everything they needed from him at that time. So where they're moving the poles to should be where they need to be for the improvement.
Okay, I wondered if they hadn't gotten the cart ahead of the horse.
Well,
evidently no.
They decided it was better to buy it all now rather than come back later and buy an additional sliver later. So I mean, right now, from there south, nothing's been heard.
So they kind of did, because they didn't have the transfer. Well, really,
yeah.
I mean, they didn't have the transfer of jurisdiction, but they did acquire the property to do it.
Anyhow, REC is moving their poles over and gonna take their line up along the south side of the ramp there, and then when they get out to the east a ways, then they're gonna bore underneath and bring it up on the north side and tie back in. Anyway, he didn't seem to be real urgent about, I mean, he'd like to get these two approved as soon as he could, but, and he said, you know, if the board was satisfied with him, they could go ahead and sign them, and he'd still come out on the 23rd.
I think we need to see the final before we agree to approve or something.
Right. And I should have that next week, but.
Yeah, why don't we just set it up for him to come in and we can talk over some concerns and issues.
I guess I should let him know maybe a little bit what some of your concerns are, if you want to let me know them ahead of time. If they're more construction related, then probably should have Mike Kruger here too.
At this point in time, I mean, if they're accepting N14 as it is, and there really don't appear to be any obstacles there, I guess most of it would surround what the construction things are for the new alignment, and where they are with scheduling and those kinds of things. The N14 thing really doesn't pose any problems for us that I can see.
I mean, because I guess what he said was, you know, if you're going to have to be asking more construction type questions, then Mike Kruger would probably be better able to answer them.
And I think when we talked about having him come, we really didn't have any kind of idea what they were going to do about the grades. And the grades were very important to us, just because we both cross it and know what concerns people would have in trying to cross it with loads or trucks. Or.
But if you've got more questions on N14 as far as progress and steps, then Mike Kruger wouldn't know much about that. Tony would be able to answer more of the questions on any issues on N14. But I mean, there isn't a whole lot there at this point. He might be able to give you a better idea when the public hearing would be and when.
And it's pretty much out of our hands if they're not asking us to do any kind of changing or improvement or any of those things. If they're taking it without any conditions, we really don't have any concern there.
Do you want me to see if I can get Mike here next week? And ask, you know, the construction related questions with him? Or you just want to wait for him to have Tony come on?
Doesn't matter either way.
Did they plan on having that complete N14 to change over and when Highway 20 opens?
I think that's still a big question.
Because that's going to make a four-way stop, or else going to have to stop Highway 20, old Highway 20 coming into town and going out.
I
But
think
a major highway would be going north and south.
I got the impression from Tony this morning that he's not sure they're going to get the reconstruction done before they open it to N14. That they would probably end up having to make some improvements to the existing N14, and then actually do it.
What would that be, Ron? I mean, what can you do that you got?
I guess I'm not sure what they'd be looking at doing.
I mean, if they're going to, why would you do improvement and then tear it all up?
Well, they want to make sure it's in a safe condition to run that much traffic on. So they might do some patching. They might do I don't know if they do any kind of intersection. I think it would.
It's relatively wide.
Yeah, relatively wide. I'm not sure they would do anything there either. They might on the other end. I don't know if they do widen it out a little bit with a little bit wider shoulder at the ramp, but people would be turning on and off. I guess I'm not sure. That'd be questions again that Tony would be able to answer better. But he just, I think, it's too bad they didn't start on that part of the project at the same time they were working on 20, and they would have been synced together. But now it looks like this project, as far as N14 reconstruction, he just don't think it's going to be able to get done in time to be done for the opening.
It appears to us that they're pretty aggressive in their projections. There's a lot of work.
And maybe with the if we have another summer like we had this summer, maybe this project will catch up and they will be able to get it done.
Well, there's just a lot of work in there, and it will really depend upon the weather.
Yeah.
Looking across at N28, we were talking about that before you arrived. That's drainage there is awful.
Yeah.
And it's dry now, and it may not be dry again until next August.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's, like I say, there's a lot of things that have to fall into place for this thing to get open in the fall 2012 to N14. So, if things don't, they might end up being able to get the reconstruction done. I think if they aren't going to make it, then they aren't going to try to do the reconstruction until after they get completed over early.
I'm not real sure that wouldn't be a good plan, because interrupting and all that, I suppose it would cost more money. Why do it twice? But
yeah,
they've got a ton of work to be done in that period of time, and not enough time to do it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, go ahead and just leave it for the 23rd then, and maybe let him know that, some of your questions are going to be construction related on, existing, and maybe he might have, if Mike's available, maybe he'll have Mike come down also. So, another thing sort of related to Highway 20 is and I visited with Tony a little bit about that this morning. With Quincy being cut off and not having access to 20, I plan on having a road vacation hearing probably sometime this winter to look at vacating that, and then how far back maybe we'll be able to vacate it from New 20. Although I've learned from in Calhoun County where we vacated a road and then the contractor wanted to use it for access to get to the project, we would probably look at vacating them but delay actual implementation of the vacation until the project is done. Because typically they end up with suppliers and stuff wanting to haul rock and maybe even concrete in that access. So